Hey guys, Barry McGinnity here, back for another episode of the Comeback Game Inspired and Unstoppable. Today I've got a good buddy of mine, Dave Woodward, for Chief Business Development Manager at ClickFunnels. Dave, mate, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. We met a little while ago, and I suppose for everyone out there that's watching or listening to this today, tell us a little bit about you and what particularly it is that you do.
So I have the opportunity of being involved with ClickFunnels. We started this about 4.5 years ago, and I run anything associated with our top line revenue. I have the opportunity of talking to people who are trying to throw money at us, and we keep telling them no. I have the opportunity of working with our partners, our 2 Comma Club X award winners, our affiliates, our international growth opportunities. Anything that's fun and exciting with ClickFunnels, I get the opportunity of doing all that stuff.
Yeah, and you guys have grown quick. Like over the last 4 years, you guys have grown incredibly quick.
We've been really blessed. I'm sorry if I cut you off. What was that?
Yeah, how's that journey been for you guys?
Oh my gosh, I've done a lot of different. I've been an entrepreneur now basically my entire life, but got married 25 years ago, and literally I've been self-employed my entire life, and I've never done anything more fun, more exciting, more rewarding, more fulfilling. I've never done anything that's grown as fast as we have. Again, we've just 4.5 years, over 70,000 customers. We did just over 100 million last year in revenue. It's just been a rocket ship, and it has been literally the most fun I've ever had in business.
Yeah. And so how did you get there? Like you said, you've been an entrepreneur most of your life. Like what were you doing pre-ClickFunnels?
So I've known Russell. I literally met him at the time I had my own marketing agency, and I was a student of Dan Kennedy, Bill Glazer, direct response marketing, had a large marketing agency. We were doing a lot of direct mail, did things in the health industry, in the fitness industry, in the finance industry. And at that time I had a couple of clients who were trying to figure out this whole online thing. And I was like, I just don't know. This is 2008, I think 2007, 2008. And it was one of those things where people were just trying to think, can you make money online long-term? Or is it just flash in the pan type of thing? A lot of people gotten burned during the internet bubble of 2000, and they were still a little squeamish about investing a lot of their marketing dollars in that. Yeah. And so Russell was putting on a seminar actually with Stu McLaren about affiliate marketing. And so I ended up going to that thing to figure out this whole affiliate marketing game. And I remember, I think Russell was, I think he's 26 at the time. And so he got up there and basically just said, hey, if you guys would like to find out more about us or take us to lunch or dinner, just go ahead and sign at the back table. He would never offer that today, but back then he did. And I ran to the back and I signed up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with him for the next 2 days, and just had the opportunity of really developing a deep friendship. He's become honestly, one of my best friends, like a brother to me. And we've had the opportunity over the last 10, 12 years of doing a whole bunch of different things online in different industries. I did some fitness product things, did some real estate things, network marketing things, internet marketing. And what happened basically, when ClickFunnels came around, I ended up seeing him we just gotten ClickFunnels started, and it was at TNC. And while we were there, I've always, one of the things I love doing is just making crap happen as fast as I possibly can. And so we had a booth at the very back end of TNC, and we're like, Russell was speaking, and it was just in a terrible location. And I remember Dylan and Todd, the 2 other co-founders, were there, and they're like, gosh, if there was some way that we could just get attention to Russell at his event, at his speaking thing, if we had like booth babes or something like that. And I'm like, at the time I was living in San Diego, and San Diego was my city for the last 20 years. I'm like, that is one thing I can make happen. And so I literally got on the phone, and within an hour or 2, we had 6 booth babes there handing out t-shirts, driving people to Russell's event. We ended up selling a ton of stuff. And again, that's kind of what I do. I love to make stuff happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a company that grows that fast doesn't grow that fast without overcoming, no doubt, many serious challenges or adversities. So I'm curious to know, like over the last, 4+ years of ClickFunnels, seemingly explosive growth, what are some of the challenges that you've maybe experienced personally within the organization in your role, or you guys have experienced as a company? Because the beautiful thing about social media is it often paints one picture, right? And we often don't see, like, it's like the laptop lifestyle. You see the photos of people like taking selfies at cafes. It's like, check out my office today. And they show this one side. They don't see the hustle, up till 2, 3, 4 a.m. in the morning. They don't see, the challenges of cash flow and things like that. So what have been some of the adversities that you guys have had to overcome in the incredible growth you've had?
Oh, love that question. Great question, Barry. I can tell you, so as far as personally, one of the biggest challenges actually for me, when we first started this, I was living in San Diego at the time, and I was traveling up every other week. And I've got 4 boys, a beautiful wife I adore, and the travel for me was brutal. And when I was here, I mean, when we first got ClickFunnels started, you have to understand this. I think this is the 4th attempt at doing ClickFunnels. This was not something we just tried for the first time. Russell had tried this 3 other times, crash and burn, and nothing was working. And I think the biggest trial and the biggest struggle, especially these days, so many people are out there, and I get approached all the time with people who are saying, I've got this idea, I just need money, and so we'll raise some money and then we'll do it. And we never wanted to go that route. We've bootstrapped ClickFunnels. It's privately held. We've never taken on any cash. And so that in and of itself is probably one of the biggest hurdles, because we had other businesses going at the time. I still was doing a lot of marketing things on the side to help pay the bills. We didn't have money for employees. We didn't have money for a whole bunch of stuff. And so it literally was all hands on deck. And I remember every time I was up here, when Todd would fly in, we talked about basically our funnel hackathons, where they literally were all night type of deals. There was a lot of Red Bull, a lot of Rhino Rush, a lot of caffeine consumed, just trying to make this thing happen. And I remember the first time, so we launched ClickFunnels September of 2014. And I remember, I think it was in October, I was still down in San Diego, and Russell and Todd were down there. Russell was speaking at Mike Filsame's event. Yes, I think it's actually November that year. And what ended up happening was we had tried launching ClickFunnels multiple times. When it first came out in kind of a beta launch, went out to anybody we knew and said, hey, you know what? This is going to be the next greatest thing. And it was clumsy. It was ugly. It didn't work well. And people were like, yeah, I see it, but it's not quite there yet. And it was super hard to sell. We thought when we first launched this thing, we did 10,000 customers in our first 6 months, and it was going to take care of it. It just did not work that way. But it was fascinating for us. I remember when we were at Mike Filsame's event and Russell spoke, and it was at a time where we didn't have a webinar put together. We didn't have a large offer, and it was basically free trials. And when you're doing free trials or free trial with a credit card at $37 when we first started, 97, it was tough just to get things to work. And it was the webinar, I'll never forget, at the end of that, kind of all got together, and Russell basically, it was magical. It was the most magical event I'd seen take place for founders and a company just getting started. Here we were struggling, just trying to find some way. I mean, at the time there was Russell had, I think, 4 or 5 other businesses still going that were paying the bills for that. Todd wouldn't. None of us were taking paychecks. It was literally it was totally bootstrapped. But Russell came off stage, and that night kind of got together dinner, and he says, I just want you to know this is going to be $1 million product, and it's going to be $1 million by the end of the year. And that literally changed everything. And the reason it changed was because we realized the messaging was finally correct. Before we were going primarily just after information marketers, and you could use this in place of a website. But the whole idea as far as really rolling out a funnel and helping people understand the technology behind it and how everything was bundled together to really be more of a one-stop type of a shop for you, including an autoresponder, and everything was there. It was that opportunity that, as Russell came off stage, he says, this is going to make us millions of dollars. And it was literally, once that first presentation was done, and we saw it literally became a table rush. When Russell got done speaking, people ran to the back of the tables to sign up. And they were signing up for $1,000 product, which we'd never charged that much for, because what we ended up doing was bundling together a coaching program along with the software. And that was the magic that it took to get going. And from that, Russell literally just became a webinar. He did so many he was doing 2 to 3 webinars a day with people, trying to get people to sign up. So that was some of the pain when we first got started. Another one, Barry, real quick, was when basically we weren't on AWS, Amazon servers at the time. We were someone else. And I remember Russell we were in Denver at the time. Russell just gotten on he had spoke at a Dan Kennedy event. And basically we sold a bunch there, got on a plane and was flying to London to speak, and our servers crashed. And I think it was one of those things that the magic that saved us on that point there was the transparency, where Russell basically said, listen, we're the biggest customer of ClickFunnels. We're on it every day. I know how bad this sucks. I know that you're not able to sell right now, and your websites are down. Trust me, we're doing everything we can to get this up. And Todd and Ryan magically literally rebuilt ClickFunnels on AWS within about 48 hours. We couldn't do that today, but at the time, that is what saved us, was the ability just to keep everyone together and to go out to the community, tell them, being totally transparent, what was happening, what was wrong. And those were some of the painful things getting this thing up and running.
And I think that's the trait of any great leader is, having vision and belief. And that day that he hopped off stage and said, hey, this is $1 million product. It was like that belief, that vision that he had for the product you guys bought into. And not only that, the culture that he was able to build through that process of transparency, that's a sign of a phenomenal visionary. And like I know from last year's Funnel Hackers event as well, like the culture that you guys have created within the Funnel Hackers community is just incredible. And that's what I see a lot. The talk people are like, what we love about ClickFunnels is that they're always up to innovation. Like they always take on board the feedback and happy to work it into the product. And I don't know many other products in the marketplace that are so willing to constantly innovate their technology to keep up the demands of their clients.
I really appreciate that, Barry. Culture for us is the most important part. It's kind of funny. I mean, we're a software company. I mean, there's a million software companies out there. What makes ClickFunnels unique? And again, I was talking with Morgan Stanley yesterday. They were throwing money at us, and it's weird to tell people, no, I don't want millions of dollars. But the one thing they made mention of, and what was so appealing to them, was our culture.
Yeah.
And that's what they asked about is, how have you built such a strong culture to where they basically said it's Apple-esque. I mean, it's so similar to Apple, where people will stand in lines before the new iPhone comes out. And they're like, who does it? They don't do that for Samsung. They don't do that for others. And I've taken a lot of lessons from Steve Jobs on culture, but for us, it's a family. We talk about our funnel hacker community, and it truly is a family. I get goosebumps all the time as I have the opportunity of seeing someone successful. I love going through our Facebook feed and saying, you know what, even an affiliate who makes their first sale and they made, $18 or $100, whatever it is, and they're so excited about it. Or a person who finally gets that one, we talk about you're one funnel away. In fact, I was just with my son, just left the house, and he's 22 years old. He's married. He's got his own agency, and he's been struggling trying to find the right thing for one of his clients. And it hit last night. And he goes, Dad, I couldn't sleep last night. I was up all night long. He goes, I finally got the right funnel. It works. And to me, I get so excited, and nothing makes me happier than seeing people have success. And it's so weird for me that a software is changing people's lives, but it does. And I love every one of our 71,736 members that we have right now. I love every one of them. I'm so passionate about making sure they have success.
And it's even more than that. Like, it's even more than software. It's a sense of belonging. I think deep within every human being, we have a core desire, fundamental need to belong. And I think that what you guys have created is a sense of belonging for so many people. not just have you created a sense of belonging, but you've created a vehicle for wealth that is not readily available working in employment. Like anyone has the ability to go and download a 14-day trial of ClickFunnels and pull a template out of the cookbook and throw together their first ad set and funnel and see things coming through. And it's interesting, I share quickly, for years, right, we were trying to hire marketing companies for our business, the Game Changers, and time after time after time, we were let down. They weren't able to deliver on even half of what they ever promised us. And I remember my partner continued to say to me, hey, we should just be doing this ourselves. And I was like, oh, but I get this whole psychology thing and we get that, but I don't understand funnels. I don't understand Facebook ads and the technical thing. And for 2 years and multiple six figures, I resisted it. I've been paying other people to do it. And what, bugger it, let's do this. And so we spent 25 grand. We hired this guy. We got time and 8 hours of content videos, and he used ClickFunnels. And so we watched this and we downloaded ClickFunnels. We bought our first funnel. I remember we spent we started work at 8 a.m. on the Friday morning and we finished at like 10 p.m. on Sunday night. We launched our first funnel, the Minimalist Guide to a Thriving Business, an ebook. And we woke up Monday morning and the first thing, we looked at each other in bed, we're like, let's go and see if we've got leads. And we ran downstairs, fired up the computer, and lo and behold, we had leads come through. Everything was working, Pixel was firing. By Wednesday, we made our first $25,000 sale through that funnel. And, I'll never forget that feeling because it was more than just building a funnel. It was a sense of belief that we got in ourselves through going through that process. For me, resisting it for 2 years and just throwing money at the problem, it's like someone else, an expert, can take care of it, to, paying this guy for some time. And a lot of people would have thought that was a ripoff, 25 grand for an hour call and 8 hours of videos. We made that money back in less than a week, and we haven't looked back since. We've got multiple 2 Comma Club awards. It's, a primary source of new client acquisitions is through Facebook or Google ads and ClickFunnels. And as I said, there was something within that experience. And I see that within your communities. It's not just like, software, right? But it's who they become in their journey of expressing themselves to the marketplace and connecting in with their avatar.
Oh my gosh, Barry. I first of all, I appreciate that story. And I appreciate, again, the fact that you do have multiple 2 Comma Club awards, and it's so fun for me to see your success and to see where you've come and how you've grown. And I think it's people like you that I just get so excited about, because for me, it's not just you. And I mean, you're one of our customers, but the part that I guess I get most passionate about is it's your customers' customers. That's what excites me the most. Is we've got a software that you are using to bless the lives of thousands of people. I don't even know who they are, but that to me is what I'm so passionate about, having people have success, one, for their own success, but more importantly, for the lives of, they're blessing people's lives. They have a message they're trying to get out to the world. I mean, for you and what you guys have done is just phenomenal growth. But it's because of your own success stories and your testimonials of the people whose lives you've changed. That's just, that's the world to me.
Yeah. There's a ripple effect. It was interesting because this year, I really sat in this space of revising my goals. And for a long time, it's been, bigger and better and more, because there was an impact number that I wanted to create. And I spent some time over New Year's to really sit down and look at things and realize that we're impacting 10 to 20 times more people right now than what we ever realized, because it's not just the direct entrepreneurs and business owners that are working with us. It's their partners, it's their children, it's their employees, it's their clients and customers. They're all directly impacted through us helping them grow more profitable, more successful, thriving businesses. And it's the same with you guys. It's not just the thousands of customers you guys have, but who they're serving as a result of the vision that you guys have created. And I suppose, this culture piece is really interesting, because I see, we, as you guys no doubt, work with a lot of business owners. And I think that there's this misconception around success, overnight success. and everyone's sold that it is just, go and download some software potentially and create a landing page, or, hey, just start your own business and you'll be successful. And the reality is that anyone that's created any form of success has overcome some form of adversity, like we spoke about. They've had the vision and foresight to go after what they want and let nothing stand in their way to get there. And so 2 questions. First of all, what do you think it takes to create phenomenal culture? Because even if the product shut down tomorrow, right, your fans would stay with you. They would stay loyal for you guys to get that up and running. And that's happened, right? What do you think creates phenomenal culture and a community like you guys have created?
Wow, great question. I actually get asked this quite a bit. I think there's a couple of pieces to it. I think one of the first pieces that's really, and again, Russell talks a lot about this in Expert Secrets, but it is that attractive character. I mean, Russell is definitely an attractive character for the brand, but I think more important than that is it's the vision and the hope that is created that someone else can buy into. Our culture doesn't mean anything unless people believe that they could actually have some sort of success. And success is different for everybody. Sometimes success is measured in dollars. Others, it's time freedom. Others, it's time with their family. And so I believe for us, as far as the culture, some of the main things that have really created that culture, one, as we talked about earlier, was the transparency. I think you have to, especially these days, people can smell a fraud so fast. And if you can't be transparent and open and tell people, listen, we're struggling, we're having a hard time, we feel your pain, and people believe that and express that, I think that transparency has been probably one of the keys to it, because we've had twice that ClickFunnels almost gone down that we've had to deal with. Fortunately, it's been years since then, but because of that transparency. And then I think the other thing is, as far as building that culture, is providing people an opportunity to express themselves. We've tried, especially either whether it's through a Facebook group or through podcasts or through our live events, is allowing people to connect. You made mention earlier, Barry, as far as the importance of people feeling that they belong to something. I think that's, when you're looking at culture, that belonging is so critical, especially these days. We have so many, you're in the same situation we are. You got a whole bunch of business owners, many of them who are internet entrepreneurs who they feel so alone. It's a lonely world out there as a business owner. I remember when I started as an entrepreneur years ago, before Gary Vee came out and popularized this whole idea as far as entrepreneurship, basically telling people you were an entrepreneur meant you couldn't get a job and you were broke. I mean, that's basically what entrepreneurship was back then. But I think these days, for a lot of people, it's that ability to feel like they belong, that they're connected to, and that they're heard, and that people, for lack of a better term, that they love them, that they care about them. People have to know, especially these days with the internet and it being so, you made mention as far as social media, the laptop lifestyle in a cafe. Yeah, there's that piece of it, but people know behind the scenes, deep down, there's a lot of lonely, dark nights. There's a lot of time where you're like pounding the keyboard. This isn't going to work. I can't make this work. And trying to get that first dollar, or your client's not happy. You're trying to satisfy them and you're over delivering and they don't feel it and they don't see it. And I think as far as building that culture, you have to have the vision is the first thing. Second thing is transparency. And then that third thing is the ability for people to connect in a way that they feel like that they belong and they're being heard.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And that's something that often we find as well, is that people enter our community, they're like, wow, we've never experienced anything like this before, because there is complete transparency, top down, bottom up, and vulnerability. And people feel safe to share what's going on. And, I suppose it relates very much to the experience that I had for a long time being a coach. I felt that, I would go to these events and I was part of these masterminds, and I always felt that I could never really share what was going on, because I had this kind of feeling that I needed to have my shit together because I was a coach and I was running a coaching company. And so I'd go to these events and I'd never really tell people what was going on, because I was too afraid that if I was vulnerable, what they might think and being judged. And I remember that shifted significantly for me about 18 months to 2 years ago. And that was the same time that business started to shift significantly as well, because it was like, in many ways, I'd been wearing this cloak protecting who I really was. And that was not allowing me to be that attractive character, because people couldn't buy into me when I was walking around with a cloak on, right? And it was only once I started to show and share that vulnerability and actually what was really going on in my life, and that I haven't got my shit together. Like, I experienced my ups and downs, as everybody does, that it allowed that community and that culture to really start to bring in, because as you said, people can detect a fraud miles away. Like, I remember 10 years ago, doing business was very different to what it is right now. Like, you could get away with being a bit of a salesman and, you know, selling people on hopes and dreams and selling them the world and delivering the outlets. You can't do that anymore, you know, and people are so consciously aware that if you're not speaking truth, they feel that something's up. They feel that there's something inauthentic about the communication. And so I love what you guys have done. You know, what I'd love to know is who have you become in this journey? Because my belief, Dave, is that we never have a business problem. All we ever have is a personal problem expressed through our business. And that a business will never outgrow the business, the founder. So in order for a business to keep growing, the founders, the executive team, the leadership team, the culture needs to grow in proportion to the business. So I'm curious to know, like, who have you become in this journey? Like, if you look back at yourself over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years, and how you would show up in life back then to now, like, what would you say are some of the biggest differences in you and your personalities and your traits? You know, what you believe, you know, and your mindset and the way that you go about doing things.
Wow, Barry, man, I love that question. I love it because I believe 100% in the exact same thing. It's so funny. It was this time last year, Russell and I were working out. We work out together at his gym quite often. And I remember having the conversation with him, and that was, we were at a point where we had just gone through about 50 million or so in revenue. And our goal last year was 100. And I remember having that same conversation saying, you know, Russell, who do I need to become and who do you need to become to run not only $100 million company, but to run $1 billion company? And I so wholeheartedly believe what you just said, that a business will never outgrow its founder. I mean, it's personal. So first of all, I'm a huge believer in hiring coaches. This last year, I ended up hiring Jarek Robbins, Tony's son, more from a personal side. And so to answer your question, as far as who I've become, and some things I've learned, one is the necessity of becoming much more vulnerable. Years ago, I felt that same thing you just expressed as far as that cloak. I've been to those masterminds and you're like, man, I am not taking this off. If people saw what I was really like underneath here, I'd probably break down in tears and just want to cry and slither out the back door. But I think I've become much more open and transparent. It's interesting. So this last year, one of the main things I've been working on, and it's still one of my goals this next year, is to get better at expressing emotion and becoming more vulnerable and becoming a better storyteller. It's the one thing I've seen and I've realized over the last few years is the impact of stories. And the better a business owner, I don't care what it is you're selling, the better a business owner is at telling a story. And again, you've heard it a million. I grew up with the saying, as far as, you know, people buy emotionally. I mean, they buy on emotion. I get that. But you have to find a way for yourself to be able to convey emotion through storytelling. We talk in Expert Secrets, Russell has a whole chapter on the Epiphany Bridge. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things I'm still trying to learn and to grow into, is helping others have the same epiphany I've had so they can make that decision themselves. Case in point for me is as far as becoming vulnerable has been one of the main things that I've tried to share more, to become more transparent, to grow in that way. Another thing I can tell you as a business owner is I've always, having been an entrepreneur for so long, I've always just been the person who does a lot of it. And this last year, one of the main things I've looked at is I have to stop doing as much and helping others grow. We have 250 employees. And what I've realized is I have to allow them the opportunity to grow. I have to allow them to make mistakes. I have to not only allow them to make mistakes, but not be angry when they do. And to let them we will never be able to, kind of like what you mentioned, the business is never going to outgrow its founders or their own vision. But at the same time, it's not going to be any stronger than whoever it is that you're managing as well. I'm a huge believer that you have to allow people to make mistakes and to grow and to learn from that. I know a couple of guys who worked for me, they screwed up a couple of times, and I'm like, you know what? That's a learning experience. And it wasn't what they were expecting. They were expecting for me to come. I'm a pretty hard driving entrepreneur. I go at a very, very rapid pace, but I'm trying to learn to be much more compassionate with those that I work with and those who work for me, to allow them to grow, to enjoy the journey, and to become a leader themselves. And so for me, a lot of my growth over this last year has been trying to become a better leader, a better manager, a better, I've always been more on the strategy side of things. And so I've tried to then take that strategy and convey it in a way that allows other people to do it and know that they can make a mistake without my becoming really angry and frustrated with them. Another thing personally that I've really been trying to grow and develop over this last year is the ability to convey emotion. I've always been a person who's kind of held my emotions real close to the vest and not let people see that side of it. I'm still not doing a good job of it, but that's one of the main things I'm really trying to work on this next year, is allowing emotion to come out in a way that is well received, and yet it's vulnerable, but at the same time, and again, I'm struggling with this one, as you can tell, Bear. I'm still trying to put words to it. It's hard as the leader being vulnerable, but at the same time, because I want to make sure people understand, I know where we're going, but I also want to be open with them, saying, I need your help. And so I'm struggling with that. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, well, emotion essentially is energy in motion, right? It's passing through. And there's the process that we teach our coaches, which is called holographic change. And essentially, there's typically 3 levels of coaching. So standard coaching A is coach client, client has problem, coaches client on problem. Number 2 is that you have coach and client, there is no problem, right? There's conversation, you move forwards. Number 3 is this coach and client doesn't exist. And it's this premise that what we see in our client is merely a reflection of aspects of us. And so it might sound a bit woo, right? But I'm going to go with it anyway. Is that if you as a coach, if there's areas in yourself that are left unresolved, or there's areas that you're not willing to go, unconsciously your clients find it and they hide there because they're safe in that space.
Fascinating. Yeah.
So when we talk about vulnerability, is that if we have this lack of ability to express vulnerability, people can hide in that, right? Like staff, friends, family, they can hide in that because you're not willing to express it. When we're someone that's fully self-expressed, it's like nothing can have power over us. Not our ego, not any aspects of us, nor anyone around us. It's like we're dealing with this one ex-client, this client that we moved on. And, you know, there was threats around going to media and slandering and all this other sort of stuff. Now, for someone like me that cares a lot, like that really affects me, you know, but I'm not in control of that. You know, I had to make the decision that was right with my heart, and it wasn't a fit for the culture and community. But here's the thing, the old version of me would have like hid away from that or shied away because of the fear around what people might have perceived. The new me turns that into a Facebook Live. The new me shares that story to our community to say, hey guys, this is the reality of business and this is the stuff that we face, and probably at some stage you're gonna have to face as well. And you allow that experience to educate your audience in such a way that you're empowered by it as they are as well. So I think, you know, what you shared, Dave, is beautiful. Like it's really beautiful that's the journey that you're on at the moment. And I think a lot of us are on that same journey. Like certainly a lot of other people I've had on the show, we've talked about, I had JP Sears on the other week, which was an absolute hoot. You know, that vulnerability is becoming like the new sexy. You know,
it is.
Sexy. Man, is that level of vulnerability. So, you know, good on you. It's awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm still learning. So I guess I've got a lot of people hiding in that part of me right now. I need to kind of figure that one out. So I appreciate learning that from you. I took some good notes there. Thank you.
You're welcome. The other thing too, like, staff, I think what you said is amazing as well, because I think at the heart of every human being, they want to do the right thing. That's my feeling. I think at the heart
I
of
agree.
heart,
I totally agree.
now, maybe the vehicle of the business they're working is not right? Maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. But this old form of leadership that we've moved away from, which is that military dictatorship, it doesn't get the best out of people. Like if my staff were to leave me because they've got an even more amazing opportunity, like, kudos to them. I'm going to support them, because I'm not in a place of scarcity where I am providing all this training and resources to build staff up. Oh my God, what if they leave me? Like, if they leave me, someone even better will come along for the position, and they will experience an even better quality of life. And I think, you've probably noticed yourself in the leadership ability is that these people you have that relationship with, they don't want to let you down.
Yeah. Oh, totally true. Oh, so true.
Yeah. If you look back now, this is great. Like, if you look back at Russell, right, over the last, 10 plus years, how do you feel that he's actually grown and developed? Because, I know occasionally he shows a video of him selling like 10 years ago, and he was this awkward, geeky kind of a dude. But, you obviously know him quite close to heart. Like, how have you seen that he's transformed as a leader, as a husband, as a boss, as a friend over the period of time that you've known him as well?
Oh my gosh. First of all, definitely the thing is that he has become extremely good at, as far as evolving, he's probably one of the best storytellers I've come to know. He's a great example for me. And so his ability to convey stories is with emotion, and to really explain it in a way that the other people have an epiphany is magical to me. It's one of the things I'm trying to get better at. So I've seen that for sure. I think one of the other things is, and it was one of the biggest struggles we had when we first started as far as ClickFunnels. Russell was never, again, he goes back years ago, it was like I was, or a lot of other entrepreneurs, and that is, this is my company. I'm not sharing this thing. And you can work for me, but there's no equity share. There's no profit share. You're an employee. And as Todd came into his life, that was probably one of the biggest changes. Was Todd Todd didn't need the money. He had a ton of massive success, was getting offers. Todd, again, he's our other co-founders, he has an amazing mind as a tech guy, but he's been able to cross over to marketing as well. And I've never known any tech guy who has that ability like Todd does. And so Todd didn't need Russell, and Russell didn't need Todd as much as the two. Again, it was one of those things where 1 + 1 equaled, 1 million. And because of that's where Russell was, first time where Russell was like, you know what, I'm willing to share in this thing. And I think that was the first part where he realized by sharing equity and profits and everything else with a partner, we've got 2 co-founders and 4 partners. He knew that as he did that, that's really what allowed him to go from a company that was, most of his companies were typically in the 3 to 5 million range. And he understood that without being able to share, he would never get above 10. And by sharing that equity and that profit, and by involving others as true partners, was a huge, huge thing for him. And it's allowed us to get to 100 million and beyond. So I've seen that. I think the fun thing for me to see is Russell has always been a family person, but it's been interesting as he's been able to now share and document his kids and their journey. We joke around, the most popular face on ClickFunnels is his daughter, Nora. And because he's been able to share her whole life growing up, basically. I mean, she was born basically about the same time ClickFunnels was. I mean, so she's kind of grown, and it's been interesting to see the other kids. And Russell is an extremely private person. It's been fun for me to see. Todd and Russell are both introverts, true introverts. You would never think of that of Russell as this flamboyant guy who's on stage, massive energy. He thrives in that energy, but as soon as he gets off stage, he wants just to hide. And it's not one of the things that he enjoys, but it's been fun for me to see. Take, for example, we just finished our 2 Comma Club X cruise, And usually Russell's like, I'm going to go do my own thing. And it's been fun for me to see that introvert become much more of an extrovert, where he's realizing that people want to get close to him and they want to be involved in his life. And so it's been fun for me to see how he's balancing the introvert, extrovert side of things, but most importantly, how he also is able to protect his family, which is the only reason we even build businesses is for our families and loved ones. And Russell is the greatest father and husband you'll ever meet. I mean, that's where he focuses. And he's built a house and a family and a lifestyle that supports his family. So those are a couple of things I've seen for sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's really good. Two questions. I realize we're getting close to time, and I want to get us respect your time. Two things. So one, like, how do you guys maintain the fun with, like, I can imagine things at times get quite chaotic, yet every time I see you smiling, every time I see Russell, he's smiling. Like, how do you guys maintain the fun at ClickFunnels HQ?
Oh, well, first of all, I would say the easiest way is because I've had so many ups and downs over business. I have never had anything that's been more fun than this. And so maintaining the fun, one of the things is we were friends before we were business partners. And because of that, I mean, we've traveled together. Our families have traveled together. I know him as a friend more than even as a business partner. And so he and I feed off of each other quite a bit. But I think it goes back to culture. I think we've always wanted to have a fun culture, even in the office. I was joking around with the guys. So we have our internal office here in Boise. We now have an office, basically our headquarters here, and then we have another office offsite that does our billing and everything else. But in our headquarters office, this has become more of our agency office. It's more of our marketing office. And I think marketing in of itself tends to be a little more fun and exciting as it is. But we were joking around the other day. I just the excitement of the people who work with us see the vision, and they see the lives and the blessing that a software has been in other people's lives. And that in and of itself adds a lot of fun to it. Yes, I can tell you this. In fact, this week right now is probably one of the most stressful weeks we've had in months. We were gone for the last week for our 2 Column Club X cruise. We came back. We have, in the next month, 40 days here, we have Russell speaking on stage at Grant Cardone's event in front of 30,000 people at Marlin Stadium. We wrapped that up with Funnel Hacking Live coming right behind it. I mean, there's just so much going on and so much to be done. But I think part of having fun, I'm a huge believer in energy. And the higher the energy is, the more you can accomplish. And I think one of the ways of bringing in a whole bunch of energy is by bringing in more of a lighthearted, fun atmosphere. I just believe so much that the energy that you bring is, especially as a leader, people are going to vibrate up to whatever energy level you're at, or at least close to it. And if you come in and you're frustrated and you're down and you're dealing with the stress of life, people feel that. And you're not going to get as much out of those people who are working for you, because they're going to, oh crap, this sucks. What's going to happen? Oh, we've got legal issues. We've got financial, whatever problems you have to be able to, as that leader, you have to be able to bring in a high level of energy, because, and I think about it when I go home, as far as the energy I bring into my family. If I've had a stressful day at the office, I still want to make sure that gets compartmentalized somewhat, and that it doesn't take into my family. I feel the same way when I walk into the office here. And that is, I know that our staff, our employees, they look to us and they feel, and I just believe that you have to find a way of creating energy within yourself. That's why I'm a huge believer as far as morning routines and all that other kind of stuff we can talk about some other time. But I just believe you have to bring that energy. And for me, part of that energy is by having fun. And the more fun we have, the more excited people are who want to work with us, the more we get out of them, the more they get out of us. It becomes this positive feedback loop. And I think that's one of the main reasons why we do. For one, we love having fun anyways. We're always joking around with each other. But aside from that, I think that it's a necessity in an office environment to get to attain the type of goals that you want in life. You have to have a high energy level.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Lastly, mate,
This
has been so much fun. You had fun?
I love it. Anytime I see you, you've always got a smile on your face. You're always, no, I appreciate the opportunity. I really, really do.
I don't know how I'm going to sleep after this. I'm charged. So final question. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, man. Geez, I've received so much advice. Golly, the best piece. I think probably one of the things I remember years ago, we were hosting an event, and one of the people we'd brought on was the man who, back in the 60s when the US was putting up Apollo 13. In fact, it was right after the Apollo 13 movie came out, and we actually had him come and speak at the event, and I forget his name. But it was all about failure is not an option. And that was, so he talked about how hard it was. Here he had this huge situation where you've got a spaceship that is not coming back to Earth, and people's lives are on there, and they had to find some way of getting that spaceship back down. They had to get the Apollo 13 capsule here. And so he went through and he talked about, you know, in the 60s, they didn't have all the computer stuff, and they didn't have all the crazy technology types of things. And literally it was like nuts and bolts and toothpicks and paper clips and rubber bands and all this crazy stuff. He says, we literally took a spaceship and put it onto a desk and said, this is all they have. What can we use? How do we get them back? And I remember at that point, I was struggling in my career, and I was blaming everybody else for my own failures. And I remember after that event, after I talked to him, he basically said, you know, failure is not an option. You've got to find a way, and you have to take ownership. He said that was the main thing is I took ownership. I had to get those two people back to Earth. There was no other way. And failure wasn't an option for my team, but for me personally, I had ownership in my own problems. And so I think the best advice I've ever received is really, you have to own your problems. Stop pointing the finger of blame at somebody else. Whatever happens in life, it's not, especially when crap happens, it may not have anything to do with what you did, but you still have to own that's the situation you're in, and realize, you know what, failure is not an option. There will be a way. You just have to find that way. And I think you just keep fighting. That's why you just never, ever give up. I'm a huge believer that there's no such thing as no. There's always a way. The only reason it doesn't work is I just ran out of time. But aside from that, I will always find some way.
Every no is one step closer to a yes.
True. Absolutely,
yeah.
Barry.
Love that. Failure's not an option. Dave Woodward, mate, I've had so much fun. How can the guys get in touch with you or find you? Like, I know ClickFunnels is pretty easy to find, but how can they find you?
Sure. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, probably the easiest ways. I got to get back. I was doing a Facebook Live every day for about 100+ days, and then life happened. So I'm going to get back on that. So I'll be doing a Facebook Live every day again, and Instagram stories. I'm trying to get pretty big on those as well.
Yeah, awesome. Mate, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Barry. Thank you.